Tom Pattison. I'm an employer brand manager at checkout.com. Great to be here today. If you haven't heard of checkout.com, we're in the fintech space and we look after the payments for loads of fantastic companies all across the world. And yes, I'm here today to talk about the world of employer brand and how to measure the impact kind of beyond that elusive direct hire. So when it comes to measuring success within employer brand, I'm probably speaking to the choir here when I say it's really frustrating sometimes when direct hires just come up time and time again. When you're trying to justify an employer brand activation, whether it's attending an event, sponsoring an event, releasing a content piece, turning up to a new job platform, often the kind of person holding the budget will say, "Sounds brilliant, but how many direct hires can you promise me?" And sometimes it's very hard to promise. Also, when you've come to the end of a project as well, you've got amazing engagement stats, it's been a real success. If there isn't a direct hire coming off the back of it, sometimes it can feel a little disappointing, and again, the kind of keys to the budget might go away a little bit saddened. But I'm here today to hopefully give you lots more tools, tips, and measurements to really showcase all of the great things and impact that employer brand can have beyond just direct hires. Because candidates are really, really complicated, as demonstrated by this very complicated section of road. It's very rare that a candidate will just go onto a website, find it out of thin air, apply directly, and get the job. They do a hell of a lot in their journey. They might see you at an event and then 6 months later remember you and then apply. They might go on your Glassdoor or head to your LinkedIn to read a content piece before applying to a job. They might find out all about you on one of your D&I platforms, but again, not apply there because they're superstitious and think that going directly via LinkedIn or your job site is the best way to get noticed. So they'll go and apply there. They might get the job, but without measuring and trying to track some of that influence, the actual impact that your employer brand has had, so all of those amazing touch points that I just talked about, can actually be lost. So it's really important to try and identify them and track the impact that they're having on candidates. So I'm going to talk about kind of 3 key metrics to measure success and impact of employer brand today: influence, win/lose ratio, new hire retention, and then there'll be plenty of time at the end for a Q&A. So the first area is influence. So this is everything that actually goes into impacting a decision from a candidate to apply for a role and actually join you if they make an offer. It is wide-reaching, really slippery, but I'm going to show you a few ways that I think that employer brand can really make a big impact on candidates and their decisions to join you. The first is macro and micro insights. So when I think of candidates, and when I was a candidate myself, I was wanting to try and find out information about my company on lots of different levels. If we think about the macro, so pretty confidently most candidates, if not all, want to work for a good company at a high level. So they will want to find out what you stand for, the benefits you offer, what people are saying about you on Glassdoor at a kind of broad overall level. So making sure that all that information is really readily available for candidates is super important, and it will save the recruiters an awful amount of time in interviews when they're having to cover that themselves. There's loads of places you can put this. Job descriptions are a great space, your careers site, any job platforms that you have, getting that information out there in front of candidates, brilliant on a macro level. But candidates often want to find out more as well. That's not enough. They want to know actually what life would be like in a team, in a department, or in a location. So again, if you can try and find spaces online to provide information about those more localized areas, that is massively beneficial for candidates, and again, will help them show up for interview more informed and more excited. We have access to LinkedIn Life pages with our account with LinkedIn. Some of you might as well. And we kind of use these as great kind of content hubs to show more information about our departments and teams. So you can see a snapshot of our Tel Aviv page there. You've got an introduction to some of our key members of staff. We've highlighted which roles we're recruiting for, and there's some links on there as well to find think pieces, interviews with members of the local team. So again, it helps candidates kind of feel like, okay, the team that I'm actually joining is cared for, is an exciting part of the business, and I can meet some of the people I'll be working with. Then bonus points if you can go even more specific and actually showcase the specific team or even somebody in the role that you're recruiting for. So video interviews are a fantastic way to do this. You might be able to use a kind of professional partner like Welcome to the Jungle, which is a European employer brand content supporter, or you can do these yourself. All you need is a laptop or a mobile phone. There's actually benefits to doing those. They feel more authentic, coming from the direct person that you're going to be recruiting for. So when you're kind of opening up a new role, thinking about the information you have out there in the world, try and think about that funnel, macro, middle, and micro, to try and make sure that there's as much information out there as possible to influence candidates and their decision making. Glassdoor is another big one. So every company has a Glassdoor, whether you kind of want to look at it or not. And I really encourage you to pay attention and give it some nurturing, because it is becoming ever more important when it comes to candidates and their journeys to finding out more about companies. Raise your hand if you know what your current company Glassdoor rating is. Okay, that's pretty good, so about half. Raise your hand if you know that your company actually replies to the reviews that are on there. Okay, again, so half, that's pretty good. Well, we try and pay a lot of attention to our Glassdoor. We have a strategy for encouraging more honest reviews on there. We try and reply to everything, and we also try and create a feedback loop as well. So it's, reviews on there can sometimes just remain within the eyes of the employer brand team or the recruiters, but we always try and funnel that information using the likes of HRBPs to the actual leaders in departments to try and action some of this feedback to make sure that these reviews aren't kind of coming through more consistently. So if you aren't paying attention to your Glassdoor, I encourage you to get on there, have a look. It might be a scary place initially, but with some nurturing, it can actually be a really great place for candidates to find out more information. In-person events are really, really powerful as well. I don't think I can underestimate how powerful a human connection is. It's brilliant that we're back to kind of in-person events now as well, and we've had massive success meeting candidates at recruitment events, both big and small. This is the team at Silicon Milk Roundabout last year, but we also sponsored the Fintech Design Innovation Summit earlier in the year, which is incredibly niche. It's for people in design looking for a role in fintech. And both of them have their merits. Something super specific is a great way to connect with really, really engaged individuals. They know what they want. They probably know about you as well in that space. So great connections. But then doing something bigger as well has massive benefits to capturing people en masse. We got to speak to hundreds of people across loads of different specialties, loads of different roles. So it was a really great way of kind of introducing ourselves to a lot of different candidates. A lot of them don't have to break the bank as well. It's brilliant if you can kind of fund merchandise, show up at some of the bigger events. But like I said, there's loads of events out there. The pandemic as well, I think, exploded the online event space. We're all slightly Zoom fatigued, but there's still some amazing events out there in there. So perhaps if you're new to the event space, feel free to start small, maybe start with a free virtual one, and then you can kind of ladder up to some of the bigger events out there. Reputation is another big one that influences candidates. So they do care what's in your trophy cabinet. 92% of people consider changing jobs to a company with an excellent reputation. Reputation obviously exists outside of just awards and accolades, but they are really, really useful proof points to show that you care about your culture, your workplace, and that you've been recognized as excellent in that space for it. There's lots of big players again, so Great Place to Work is a fantastic organization. It's a great process. We did it earlier this year. It's also surprisingly affordable for some smaller companies. They kind of ladder up their payment structure depending on the size of your company. So definitely worth checking out. And then again, there's loads and loads of smaller award bodies out there for free. In-house recruitment, shameless plug, has a fantastic awards program which is entirely free to join. And candidates don't always necessarily need to know about the company that's giving the accolade. You can always tell them about that once you've got the award, but it's a really useful approach point. So again, do some Googling. You'd be amazed how specific and niche some of these award bodies are, but definitely worth exploring. Also, we've found the content that you pull together for an entry has actually great use cases outside of just submitting for the award. We've turned them into content pieces, case studies. We've shared the statistics we pulled together internally as a really great kind of piece of engagement. So it's you can do a lot with those award entries as well. So influence is really slippery to measure. I've kind of talked about some of the key areas that go into measuring employer brand influence, but it can be hard to track. Candidates often might forget what they've done in their candidate journey. They might be applying to you alongside many other companies and therefore mix you up with somebody else. Once they're in, a couple of months into the company, the actual recruitment process feels like a million miles away. So I really encourage trying to capture this data from candidates as quickly as possible. We have a candidate feedback survey which goes out to every rejected and accepted candidate at final interview stage, and we have a question in there which is all about employer brand influence. So we have, during your process, which of the following influenced your decision to join checkout.com, and then we have listed some of the things that I just talked to you about. So some of our hiring partners, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, names of events that we've been a part of, obviously a category for anything else to capture. And the results from that have been fantastic. We've got a lot more data than we've ever had before in terms of how our efforts across the employer brand sphere is actually influencing decisions. And our stakeholders have been really receptive to it. Again, it's a great proof point to talk beyond just direct hires and to showcase all the other methods that you are impacting candidates during their journey. Moving on then to win and lose ratio. So when I say win versus lose, I'm talking about the volume of people that you are recruiting from your direct competitor set, or a set of companies that you find that you are kind of competing with from a talent point of view, versus the amount that you are losing to those competitors. So what is the ratio between them coming in and then going out as well? Caveat that obviously this is not entirely employer brands' kind of responsibility to own this, but we are a kind of key part of the puzzle and have a very specific role to play. And a lot of it comes to differentiating yourself from the competition. So really thinking about what makes you as a workplace unique, special, different to those that are surrounding you is a great way to attract talent in a way that resonates and the way that actually makes you feel different from those around you. Kind of starting with an employee value proposition exercise is a great way to go about this. So, doing an actual research study to think about what makes you, what is that secret sauce, that special sauce that people really connect with, is a very powerful way to answer this question. I would always start with actually interviewing people within your company. You don't need to have a kind of degree in psychology for this. Just thinking about some general questions relating to culture, how people feel about working at the company is a great place to start, and then going to your employee base and asking them those questions. Making sure that you're talking to a lot of different people within the company is also super important. Levels of tenure, levels of seniority, and also levels of engagement, I would say, with the company. If you just speak to 10 people who are all super engaged, you're going to get a very small slither of the actual experience. So try and talk to people as well that have had some problem areas to try and get a more holistic view. Glassdoor is also another great place. Go back into those comments, see the pros, see the cons, and use those to kind of build a case. You'll start seeing recurring themes coming up time and time again, and those are the things that make you unique. Then strength test those things with your competitors. So go back to that list and then go onto the competitors' Glassdoors. Look at those pros areas that are coming up with them. Are there similarities? Are there things that are special to you that aren't coming up with them? Do you have anybody in your company that has come from one of those competitors? Talk to them. Try, without probing too much, get information about their old company. Why do they choose to move? What are the key differences that they see with you compared to their old company? All of those things together, you'll start to see patterns, words, phrases, which will really helpfully help you kind of craft that unique proposition. And then once you've found what makes you unique and special, it's all about amplifying it out into the world. So there's loads of places that you can do this. I mean, I would start internally first, so communicate it with your employee base. You want everybody to be speaking from the same hymn sheet, and it can't emphasize enough, those kind of one-on-one conversations are really, really important and special in introducing your workplace to people. But there's loads of places online where you can spread this message as well. Think about the language that's on your careers site. Are you using just those same phrases, buzzwords that you're seeing on every company, or can you pepper in those unique phrases and words that you've spotted in your interviews and gone through your Glassdoor reviews? Video is also a massive, massive aid here. It's, probably no surprise that video is just growing exponentially in terms of the impact and influence it has on the world. Like if you think about the, impact of TikTok and the continued rise, it's how people are getting their information, it's how people are getting inspired, and it's how people are wanting to access more and more. So if you can try and bottle it into a video, then that's fantastic. There's some amazing external companies like Wiser who are here today that do a great job of producing this kind of video content. But again, it doesn't need to break the bank. You can start small, you can try and do some in-house, have a bit of a play, have a go, and then you can always ladder up to the kind of more professional looking output at the end. These are some screenshots of our upcoming culture video, which we have produced over the last couple of months. Not out in the world yet, but very excited to unleash it. And we have gone for talking about the topic of thrive at the heart. So our company mission is to enable businesses and their communities to thrive in the digital economy. How do we do that? Well, by empowering our people to thrive through all of the different ways that kind of make us special as a place to work. So that is the kind of hook of our video. Without upping us too much, hopefully it is a kind of unique selling point for us, and hopefully it makes this video feel different to any other recruitment ad that you will see out in the world. Then we have new hire retention. So again, not exclusively a responsibility for employer brand, but definitely something where we have a key role to play, and something that you can certainly cite when it comes to showcasing the impact of your employer brand. And I would say probably the most urgent question within this space is, does the reality match the perception? So obviously within employer brand and what we are producing and sending out into the world, we always want to put our best foot forward. We always want to be showing an inspiring image of the workplace, but we need to really make sure that that doesn't go too far into the extreme, where actually what we are showcasing and producing does not reflect the actual reality of the company, because it's a very short-term strategy. Believe you me, if you are producing an image and you are buying people into the company that doesn't actually exist, when they arrive, they are going to see through it incredibly quickly. They're going to get disgruntled. They're going to, do poorly with their work. They're going to talk about it. They're going to leave. So actually you're creating more of a headache for yourself than if you are trying to actually showcase a more real image out into the world. And kind of from my work and what we've done at Checkout and what I've done at other companies, I would say the best way to lead with your best foot forward, show a positive face, but also make sure that the image is still rooted in reality, is to use your people wherever possible. They are the ones that candidates want to hear from. They are the ones that are going to be telling, hopefully, a truthful story. They are the ones that should be at the very forefront of your employer brand. Instagram is just one great place where you can kind of showcase this type of content. This is just a slice of 9 of our most recent posts, and you can see the variety in there, all kind of talking to different elements of the experience of life at Checkout. We've got some volunteering, we've got somebody celebrating National Book Day, we've got a run-through of our New York office, we've got a group who have gone to a hockey match, I think, our wellness room, so lots of variety. But again, all fronted by our people, all kind of authentic photography style, and all actually coming from ideas that came from our people. Again, doesn't need to break the bank here, celebrating International Book Day, anyone can do that. If you've got an office, doing a low-key office tour, anybody can do that. So this kind of content is definitely something that everybody can leverage. And again, we've had great response from candidates who have gone in, found out lots about our culture, and again, show up for interview with a better understanding of who we are, which again helps them hopefully convert into an actual hire. The stats speak for themselves as well. Like I said, the number one obstacle in the application process for people is not knowing what it's like to work at an organization. And then 73% of millennials found their last position through social media, which is absolutely massive. This is a kind of one slice of the work that we do in this space. Yes, it's kind of speaking to the life and culture of the company, but you can also get really geeky and really specific about the work as well. We launched a tech blog earlier this year with pieces coming directly from our employee base, all accredited to the actual members of the engineering team, and that has been received incredibly well by candidates. They can get into the specifics of project work, they can see what the thinking is like within the teams that they are joining, and again, it feels authentic because it is coming from the actual people within the company. So just another way that you can leverage this. So that was a whistle-stop tour of just 3 of the different areas within employer brand, which all have a role to play when it comes to having a positive impact on pipelines and candidate journeys. So hopefully I've given you a few new tools, new tips, and new areas to kind of reference with your stakeholders to continue to kind of prove the proof point that employer brand is very important and still has a massive impact if it's beyond just that direct hire. Thank you.